Hello, everybody. Good evening. It's On the Stick After Dark, and I have a knife in my hand. And you might ask, why do you have a knife in my hand? And the answer is because I got this thing. You can see that label there. It's SNK 40th Anniversary Collection Switch Limited Edition. And we're going to go ahead and open that up. Keep my address off camera, which I think I did. Alright. Bubble wrap. Bubble wrap. Packing slip. One SNK 40th Anniversary Collection Limited Edition. So here it is. Obviously much bigger than a normal Switch game would be. So we have a sticker that says for hybrid device red, which I appreciate, and then a bunch of sort of title screens and flyers and stuff, and on the back there's a 40 made out of flyers and box arts and such, which is pretty cool. Let's get into this plastic. Let's see what is actually in here. I mean, I know generally what's in here. So a bunch of people got early copies for review, but I don't think any of them were the limited version. I think those all were just the standard retail version. So, okay, so it opens from the top. We got a whole bunch of stuff in here. Oh, the inside of the box has box arts and flyers all down on the inside too, which is actually, that's pretty dope. I like that. Okay, so thing number one is the game, right? And I like that we have Athena in her combat bikini just front and center right there, so I can be embarrassed about having this on my shelf. Front load the embarrassment. That's the way to go. The official soundtrack disc, which includes the vocal track version of Psycho Soldier, and then music from Athena, Psycho Soldier, Alpha Mission, TNK 111 or TNK 3, which is that was Iron Tank on the NES. Ikari Warriors 2, Ikari 3 The Rescue. Disc 2 is Guerrilla War, p.o.w, Street Smart, Prehistoric Isle in 1930, Crystallis, Vanguard, the KOF 14 version of the Ikari Warriors theme, and Psycho Soldier 2018, which I guess is of the King of Fighters as well, maybe? I don't know. But I'm going to rip that to my computer and put it on my phone later. And then we've got a couple more things here. So let's see. This is the 40th Anniversary Collection official art book, and it's hardcover. And it's got a table of contents for each game, and I'm expecting that. Oh, not only is so there's Vanguard, there's like the flyer art, but then there's like a blurb about it. Trivia: Vanguard's boss is called Great King Gondo. Likely the first game to have a continue feature. It's such an early concept the developers have to explain to the player what this even means. TNK 3 represents the beginning of SNK we know today. This top-down tank shooter allowed scrolling in all directions with two different types of shot. And then again, so this is just page by page. I love this Ikari Warriors. Like, these dudes are so painfully 80s. These paintings, these two muscle-bound bros, the one with the, like, Tom Selleck mustache. But it looks like it's all flyer art. The Ikari Warriors 2 flyer art is much different than the Ikari Warriors 1 flyer art, as you can see. Psycho Soldier, and I think it's just all the games that were sort of included in the beginning. As I was telling Eric before the stream started, there is going to be some additional free games via DLC. So I think this is just the ones that were included at launch that have, you know, art here. Special thanks to one-time On the Stick podcast guest Brandon Sheffield. I assume he provided high-quality arcade flyers, maybe. Or no, he said he went to the... I actually saw he had a thread of tweets where he went to SNK's office or somewhere and got some of the assets because he was in Japan and helped out that way. So, and then I don't know what these, I think these look like individual cards maybe of art and stuff. I don't know if I want to open these or not, honestly, right this moment anyways. But well, let's see. They're like vacuum sealed in this sort of thickish plastic, but let's see if I can get it out of here. I'm still here. Oh, yeah, Kurt just joined the call. I was gonna say you can see me. You know that I'm still here. Hey, Kurt. As usual. As ever. Okay. Alright. So, yeah, these are all individual cards. This is nice card stock, and these are just... This looks like... Some of them are flyers, some of them are art related to this collection specifically. And we've got... These are just arcade flyer recreations. p.o.w. They don't have the back text, which is kind of unfortunate. They don't have like the instructions on how to play the game or like the sales pitch to arcade owners or whatever, but they're either box art. In the case of like Crystallis is the only, I think, console only game that's on this. So we have that box art, but everything else looks like an arcade flyer. Guerrilla War, a game in which you play as Che Guevara and Fidel Castro fighting the Batista regime. And that is 100% true. They changed it in the U.S. so that it doesn't say that.
Batista regime?
Yes, the Dave Batista regime.
Okay. We all know who came out ahead in that conflict.
Well, I mean, Dave Batista's still alive and Fidel Castro isn't, so, I mean, exactly. You know.
One of them was in the latest Avengers movie.
There you go. That's right. There you go. Yes.
Weird.
It was really weird. So yeah, so that's the packaging. That's the whole shtick. Which I went in for that because this edition was basically like a normal full price game. The game itself is a budget title. So if you just get this, if you just go out and buy this, it's $40, I think. 35 or 40, I want to say. And all this whole kit and caboodle was $65. So I like SNK enough and Digital Eclipse's work, and I dig the arcade flyer reproductions and everything enough that to me it was worth it. But now, yeah, throw it in my old Switch here. Check out some old video games. I'm most curious what the rotary joystick games play like. Because several of these games used a rotary joystick, and Frank Cifaldi talked at length, I think on, I don't remember if it was a Twitter thread or an interview or something, about how nobody else had really effectively been able to do rotary joystick stuff emulated, so we'll see how they pulled it off. Okay, I don't think that'll take long. I hope. We'll find out. I'll cancel it if it does. But yeah, it's not gonna take a minute. So yeah, so I think TNK 3, Ikari Warriors 1 and 2, Guerrilla War, all used rotary joysticks, and some of these games came out on the PSP, or they were PS Minis, which I think eventually meant that you could play them on PS3 if you wanted to. But they didn't really address the rotary joystick issue, and none of them were 2 players, which is really weird. So, yeah, those things seem to have been rectified. And I think if you have Nintendo Switch Online, you can actually play this game online. So, basic reading ability is needed to fully enjoy this game. So we've got arcade, museum, and options. Let's look at the options. Credits, achievements, language. Okay. We'll check out the museum later, but let's play some games. So we can switch region on some of these, apparently. Crystallis to Godslayer. I can't imagine why they changed the name for the US release. They didn't stick with Godslayer. So, right. So this game is Guerrilla War, and if you probably can't read. You probably can't read katakana, but I can read katakana, and that says Guevara. So the game was literally called Guevara in Japan. So it is. Yeah. Player 1 is Che Guevara. Player 2 is Fidel Castro. Ikari Warriors, of course, was known just as Ikari in Japan. Yeah, right. Warriors 2, Victory Road. Ikari 3, The Rescue. Iron Tank, Invasion of Normandy. Great Tank. So that's not TNK 3 is not Iron Tank. It's something. Oh, that's yeah. This is the console version. So sorry. p.o.w. I don't know what that says. Not sure what the Prehistoric Isle, which is a game where you play as a biplane shooting at dinosaurs. So we got to check that one out before we're done here. Street Smart. One thing that I think is a little strange is that. And I guess I get it, but if the game had an NES version, the NES versions are in this collection, I guess by and large. But if they had ports to, so like Street Smart had a port to the Genesis, that's not on here. And I think the theory was like, well they don't own the rights necessarily. So, yeah, I guess that's possible. It's also possible. Okay, no, so this is just console. I kind of doubt it because Digital Eclipse had already made their NES thing for Mega Man and Disney Afternoon collection. So I can switch region, but I can't. I wonder if maybe when I select the game, it lets me choose which version. Let's check out Ikari. Oh, it does. So I can. No, it's really not. It's really not. So let's check out the arcade version of Ikari Warriors. Oh yeah, and there's a watch. So you can watch the game like be beaten by the AI, and then you can choose to join in. I get the press of a button. But let's go new game. Yeah. So I actually do have it set up in here that I could put this on a monitor and vertically orient it, but that wouldn't really play to the home audience, so, I'm not going to do that.
Do you have a monitor hooked up next to your TV?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sad I had a monitor that could do that.
Oh, that sucks.
Every time I ever accidentally for a game I think was down well, it was like X on the screen that big.
Well, the further you get, the harder it gets to play downwell. Yeah, no, I like downwell quite a bit. I never finished it. Yeah, pretty much. The right stick. Whoa. It's still really hard, but it doesn't feel like unfairly hard. It might have been, there's a port of this, I believe, on the 2600, so it might have been this. Now, Frontline is a different game, but that, I actually didn't realize that there was a port of Frontline on the 2600. But I can see that not being very good. Yeah, I mean, SNK was sort of perennially in competition with Capcom, right? So, but the rotary joystick, I think. Well, also there's power-ups. Like Commando didn't have any. You couldn't get any other guns, right? It was just your standard rifle. You couldn't ride in tanks, and the rotary joystick, again, really goes a long way to make you feel like you're a bit more in control, you know, than you are in Commando. Not that Commando isn't a great game, because Commando is definitely... I mean, a lot of these games in that... I don't think the arcade version... It does have tiny tanks, okay. I didn't think you could ride in tanks in... Yeah, the dude walks really weird. That's on, that's Hamster released that, I think, on... trees. I can spell out my whole name, but I've already put my initials, so I'm just going with that.
Can you also put your whole name?
I mean, I can, yes. I can. Yes, there's a silent G. No, it's silent. Explain this. No, it's silent. I keep pronouncing the G. Oh, I ran out of bullets. I was like, why can't I shoot anymore? That's right, you can run out of ammo in this game. Man, this game is really tough. Yeah, I like that. I like this really kind of frame. Yes. Absolutely. Alright, well that's Ikari Warriors. So I can save it. Now let's take a look at the options. So you can stretch, let's stretch a vertically oriented arcade game. No, let's not. Okay. I'm already crying, Like, I mean, I appreciate that they give you the option, I guess, but like, who is playing this game like this? Like, who out there is like, yep, this is the optimal way to experience Ikari Warriors? It's really hard to understand what the hell's going on. And I can't pick up that grenade for some reason. Okay, so yeah, let's not do that. So you've got a little bit. You've got the full screen, which I sort of assume is either uses. Yeah, right.
We want to say thank you for being such a good sport about this, Joe.
Yeah, right.
It's so bad.
So I don't mind the full where it's upscaled a little bit. I assume they're using interpolation or maybe just integer scaling. It's hard to tell just by looking at it to make this look decent.
If you could do integer scaling, there wouldn't be borders.
Well, there would have to be on the side because the aspect ratio wouldn't be.
If there was a clean multiple of the vertical resolution that fit onto a 1080p TV, I imagine it would just do that by default.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But you can turn the borders on and off. Some people really obsess about that, like they want the blackness, the inky blackness of the void around their game. I actually kind of like the borders just because it kind of reminds me of like old bezel art, even though this is not, I don't think, the actual bezel art from Ikari Warriors. It's the flyer art, but
it would be cool if they included the bezel art in more translations.
Yeah, some have them, some don't. And there's a bunch of fan-made ones for MAME where sometimes people will scan actual bezel art and put them on. Street Fighter Anniversary has actual bezel art for at least a few of the games. I don't know if it has it for all of them, but at least a couple of them.
Double pack beat 'em up that came out on like 360 and PS3 had them too, didn't it?
I think so.
Final Fight and King of Dragons?
No, it was Final Fight and Magic Sword.
Magic Sword.
Yes. So we can change the controls if we want, auto fire if we want. There is options for the rotary joystick even, it looks like. Wow.
What options are there for the rotary joystick? Are they waiting for you to like build your own and
yeah, I don't know. Well, these it's laid out as face up, face down, face left, face right. I assume if you change this to single stick, then you can't use that.
Oh, it's a single stick. I was gonna say, like, do they let you have a version where you just crank the right stick around to kind of simulate it?
No, but this is probably better than, as Eric remembers, the options for midnight resistance on the Genesis, which did not really figure it out all that well. Like Forgotten Worlds on the Genesis does a pretty good job of figuring out how to integrate that spinner control. But right. Yeah, there really isn't a steering wheel, a spinner of some sort. Like if you could get an Atari paddle controller to work on to connect to your computer, maybe, kind of. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, you could do something like that. All right, so let's just hear the Psycho Soldier vocal theme. Let's jam out to that for a second. Is it only the Japanese version that actually has the... Let's see how the full screen looks. And then we'll... okay, I have to quit to... change the region. So this game plays very similarly to the Capcom game. Sun Sun. It's basically exactly, except that has like a Journey to the West theme. This has, yeah, well, Athena has more of an enemy cleavage theme. This has like a schoolgirl theme. And a vocal track for the music. So. I mean, can you imagine playing an arcade game in 1987 and hearing like a full vocal performance in the music? You'd be like, you know, blown away. Yeah, you might not even want to hear it. But I don't know. I feel like operators turned up the games that had that kind of stuff, because I remember, at least in my like local arcades, even much later, you know, because by the time I was old enough to go to arcades, it wasn't as much of a novelty anymore, but they would still crank up to Dragon's Lair Cabin, and you would hear through the whole arcade, Dragon's Lair! That's true, it's like a fun to play. Yeah, right. So, and player 2 in this game is Kensu, who is also in King of Fighters on the same team. This game is actually not very good though, so we're yeah. Car Warriors is pretty good. Oh, Cup of Coffee says they both English and Japanese have the song. The English one is hilarious. Well, now you know what that means. Wow, this is something. She sounds like her heart's really in it in this vocal performance. Seems at least possible. Okay, so not that that wasn't.
The Journey arcade game.
Oh man, with the digitized Steve Perry head.
Yes, with the analog music.
Yeah, it was loaded on a cassette, I think, right?
Did the game have a knocker also?
Probably.
Physical paddle that's kind of banged against the camera.
Yeah, that sounds right. Hail the heroes of the revolution, Mike. So I know that you can rotate, like I said earlier, because Parrish talked about how the flip grip peripheral, which, full disclosure, I did back on Kickstarter and should be getting. They're supposed to be sent out soon, I think. So, but this collection works with the flip grip. So. This game, honestly, I tend to like more than the Ikari Warriors games. I think this is one that's a little better, or at least certainly the NES version of this is, yes, enough to start a war. In fact. Yes. Yeah, that's what they changed it to for the US version. Instead of the Cuban Revolution, they were like, what if it was a Planet of the Apes game? Yeah, I'm just trying to be true to Che Guevara. I'm just trying to be true to Che's, you know, history. No, you get docked. If you accidentally kill hostages, you do get docked points, and you get points for saving them. I mean, in some ways it is. I mean, gameplay-wise, it very much is, right? It's just... Yeah, that's a help. You can get run over by a truck. I can confirm that. You can't run out of grenades either. Oh yeah, you can get... Sorry, I can run out of grenades. I'm shooting this guy in the face, and he's not dying. I mean, are you seeing this? That was incredibly bogus. Damn, I got shot through the trees. So these arcade versions are a lot harder than their NES counterparts, if you're used to the NES versions. It's gonna be a different experience, I think, for you. But the controls do feel better in a lot of ways just because of the rotary joystick option. Yes. Oof, man, yeah, they had to give you infinite ammo, I think, because there was no way you were going to make it very far without it. Also, yeah, there's clearly not integer scaling at the biggest setting because I'm getting like some light shimmer and sort of almost screen tearing type of artifacts, so... On the NES, or... Right, but not the Xbox Ninja Gaiden 2. feel like I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Oh, yeah. Right. I was gonna say, that's white, black, and white, right?
The Apple II that
Yeah.
green and black.
Anyway, there's one that is like dark green and bright green, and if you, I picked that one at first and then stared at it for like 2 hours, and then I stopped staring at it. It was pink.
Wow. We're gonna check out Street Smart. Ah, winners don't use drugs.
You know, I don't know. I really like. I encourage you to kind of go over and see.
There's some things with like Russians.
Those are two of your favorite things. Wait, are the evil Russians?
I mean, Eric is a noted hammock.
Because he is, and he also loves evil Russians.
Are they sneaky fucking Russians? As your daily snatch reference. Thank you.
Did the knit guy hat find out who you are? So I'd like to point out at this moment that for as renowned a fighting game developer as SNK would go on to become, their first stab at the genre is kind of fucking garbage. What do you consider to be their second and third stabs, I guess? They didn't develop any of those ports, though. Like, if you're talking about, like, original Fatal Fury, or World Heroes was not SNK, it was ADK. It was a Neo Geo game, but it was not done by SNK. And I don't think ADK did the port themselves, either. Yeah, first for all the Fatal Furies, but not the Super Nintendo or Genesis ports. I mean, they were designed by the same guy who designed Street Fighter, so I mean, they're Fatal Fury 1 is sort of weird in that, like, the 2-player involves you, like, ganging up on whoever you're fighting, and you can only choose Joe, Andy, or Terry. There are no other players that you can play as. But it's not bad. Like, like, this game is, like, imagine Final Fight, but as a fighting game, and, like, every character is a boss who's just as equally, like, unbalanced as all the bosses in Final Fight, but you don't fight any regular dudes. Yeah. Camaristico says, I remember playing this at the arcade with my older brother. I never understood what I was doing. Well, I'm almost 36, and I'm playing it now, and I don't really fully understand what I'm doing. It's very button mashy. And he says, isn't that Takuma? I was going to say, the main character looks a lot like Takuma. It is a headache, though. No, the main character does look like... yeah, the main character does look like Takuma Sakazaki from Art of Fighting, but I don't know. Maybe retroactively that's him. Like they went back and were like, oh no, like we're saying now that's Takuma Sakazaki. But I don't think he even has a name, or maybe he did have a name at the beginning, and now I don't remember. Yeah. It's like everything is an ice world in this game. And there's a punch button and a kick button, but like they don't combo into each other. Like I can't like punch, punch, kick, punch, or whatever.
The player can choose to fight either as Karate Man, a martial arts expert, or wrestler.
Well, there you go. I need to play as wrestler, I think.
Sending Street Smart SNK into Google like with the second suggested thing was Street Smart.
I've made this connection. Yeah, okay. Studio Midprint says, I'll be eating this soon, but for now we have SNK Classics Volume 0 on the PSP. Yeah, I mentioned that game earlier, and like, that game doesn't do a good job of managing the rotary joystick games, and none of the games are 2 players, which is bogus. Or maybe they are in the actual Japanese PSP release, but the piecemeal ones that were available in the US were not 2-player. So, and they did not handle the rotary joystick stuff well at all. Cup of Coffee says he can... I mean, maybe I will, Alex.
That's like the only game on here. I'm looking at the list and I'm like, is that really worth to play? It's the only game where I'm like, oh yeah, that game's dope. Everything else, I'm like,
I mean, that game is dope. Yeah.
yeah, it's hella dope.
As a matter of fact, let's play Alpha Mission. I haven't played that in a good long while.
There you go.
We'll start with the arcade version.
It's just authority.
It's just authority, yeah, let's be real.
I don't think I've ever played the arcade version of Alpha Mission.
Oh, dude, you can be on a boat. It's like a guy playing tennis and he's on the beach, and then the other guy just playing tennis with him on the boat. Yeah, it sounds like too much.
Madness. That was after.
Check out, I think.
No, it was after the sequel.
Hey, you wrong, bitch. Psycho Soldier 1987 and Beta 1986.
Really? Wow.
That is from snk40th.com/games.html. Question mark.
That sounds good.
I just really wanted to see
Oh, there's literally a game called Sasuke versus Commander. Okay. So, yeah, so there's some games that are post-release DLC, yes. That's true. And they're included they're included. They're free DLC. Yeah, that's what you mean beyond what they've announced already, or beyond? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure about, but I know that there is a whole bunch that have already been announced as post-release free DLC. So, I'm not fully grokking it either, to be perfectly honest. And it's whoa. And I think I just sent myself back. Yeah, I definitely sent myself back. But at least all the turrets I blew up are still blown up. This is one of those, like, post-Xevious shooters where it's like, that game's pretty good. Let's just do that. let's do that thing. I mean, a little bit, but it's very much got the, like, one button is missile to destroy ground targets. You know, then you have a standard fire. Alex, by the way, you didn't respond to the picture that I sent you yesterday. Someone in the comments of the Super Nintendo draft said, whoever picked Kirby's Dream Land 3, give that guy a high five. So since I couldn't actually give you a high five because you live on the literal opposite side of the country from me, I just, thought I'd send you a picture of that message. So,
And by that guy, I mean myself 7 years ago.
Yep.
And whatever I said, it was great.
You said Kirby's Dream Land 3 is, quote, the wrong Kirby game.
It is, yeah.
But it's, like, actually the better one.
Yeah, because it's an
As it
actual
turns
Kirby
out.
game. Kirby Superstar is just kind of a bunch of weird shit.
Right.
I mean, it's good, but yeah. Don't give me weird shit, give me Kirby.
Yeah.
Kirby is weird shit.
Kirby is weird shit. I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah, we like to be honest.
So.
We're known for...
See, now it makes a little more sense. The NES version sort of lays it out there for you, what the upgrade system is. Yeah, but anybody who doesn't know or hasn't listened yet, the classic 2011 on the stick Super Nintendo Draft is now available in video form. Really? It would have to be in increments of 20% because you picked games. You picked 5 games, so really it would be 20%, 40%, 60%. Would you still have picked Link to the Past first if you went first? Okay. Would you still pick Kirby's Dream Land 3? There's at least one viewer who's going to be disappointed if you... Mario All-Stars?
Yeah, me too. That's why I picked it. But thinking back on it, I'm like, that doesn't count. Like I said, bullshit came up. And you guys let me get away with it, so I did it. But...
Staying over here so I thought you how can you say it would be different?
Great choice. Good thinking.
Yeah, yeah. A plus Super NES game.
Yeah. Pretty good. Whatever, you guys let me pick a Nintendo game. What do you think?
Studio Mudprint says, has that slowdown always been there? I don't recall it in the Famicom version. I could not answer that because I haven't played the NES version of this game in so long. I would imagine so because it would be weird to add slowdown that wasn't there before.
Is this a port of it? Nintendo version? Yeah.
This is the NES. This is the NES version. Let's see here. What haven't we played yet? Prehistoric Isle. Let's take a biplane and shoot some dinosaurs.
Don't you want to see who wins the epic battle between Sasuke? Yes, I am gonna keep making
That game's not in. That game is not in here yet.
What? Get your money back, dude. This is fucking bullshit. Oh, that's smart. That's what we call alligators out here.
Yeah. I don't think it's a. I think it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, actually.
They're not great.
Dude, like a. The people who made this game are big Misfits fans. Yeah, it's the rule. Them's the rules, Mike. Yeah, and they'll like jump up and grab onto your plane and try to drag it down. Yeah, kind of, but it seems like you have to like push a button to change its. You know, you push a button to change where it's positioned and what it does. Kind of. Not similar, but not congruent. Yeah, I don't even know what happened there. That just.
I like all the different options you got for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think.
You can have a blue bomb, you can have it.
Like all shoot 'em ups, you don't want to grab too many speed icons, or you'll just end up like crashing into everything. Is that MLG Pro shit, or is that like speedrunner, like world record shit, or is that the same shit? Okay. I feel like this might be one of the ones that hasn't, but I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. There's going to be, yes.
Like, I thought it was whatever, and then they made two more, and everyone was like, damn, and I was like,
So this Brontosaurus, which does not really resemble a Brontosaurus in any way, shape, or form, just like ate me, and then like. Yeah, whatever, Mike. You know what I mean? It's not one of those either. That thing has way too big a teeth and is like... Didn't you just tell me that they had feathers? Kinda. I mean, he was sort of like a dragon with a... Yeah. What the hell is that thing called? Oh wow! If you hit the thing, not Ghidorah, that's a Godzilla monster. If I crash into the things that give me power-ups, they make me crash, which is lame.
Nice.
Alright, so it's 10:55. So I'm thinking, is there anything else that anybody wants to see in this collection that I haven't played yet? Well, Vanguard. It's not in here, Alex.
I don't care about that. Figure it out.
Vanguard, TNK3, Street Smart, Psycho Soldier, p.o.w, Iron Tank, Ikari Warriors 1, 2, and 3. Studio Mudprint says Iron Tank, so I guess I'll go with that. You just said you liked Vanguard in the 2600. You didn't suggest I actually play it. I didn't, because it takes a long time to get into... You can't ride a dolphin for a good long while, is all I'm saying. So, like, why bother on an hour-long stream? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The thing I like about Iron Tank is that you can actually just run people over. Like, you know, you're driving a tank. That's... I can't say for sure. Thanks. Steel tanks only. I mean, I feel like before World War II, I guess I could be wrong, but...
No, please stop. I mean, please continue. Don't stop.
Due to the extensive research done by the Wargaming University of
So are they saying there's diamond tanks in World of Tanks?
Yeah, they just say thanks. Right. So this is apparently a game for which the like epilepsy warning was created. I don't know if you guys are yeah.
Also, yes, they did with iron. Oh wow, thanks Canuck Overlord for that. Interesting. Oh dude, your Kodak.
Some Russians said
Yeah, I haven't really figured out how to actually answer that particular phone call though.
Just gonna talk to you about like that.
That's yeah. Are you done now? Are you finished? Yeah, right. I'm. Studio Mode Prince said that they leave the vocal BGM in Psycho Soldier. Yeah, you missed that at the beginning. We played it with the vocal music is still in there. Afro Power says, "Wow, that beeping sound was hella annoying." Yeah, like that's the hallmark of games of that era is to put really obnoxious beeping noises. If it's good enough for Zelda, it's good enough for Iron Tank to have really fucking annoying beeping noises. And then Retro Long Plays said a bunch of stuff about me not playing correctly. Sorry. My God.
It's happened before, you guys. It'll happen again.
Someone picked up a tank and the turret fell out. Turned it upside down and the turret fell out. Okay.
That someone was Marvel Superheroes, The Incredible Hulk.
That has always been comical to me to think that these machines of such power is basically a box with a hole and another box sitting in the hole. And some dudes inside the boxes.
Can't you summarize a lot of things?
Mike, are you happy now? Tanks for the lesson. No, I'm playing Vanguard now, Mike. You can't leave yet. You can't. This is. But that was a good thing. I got this, so I get the energy, and then I can just run into people, ships, or whatever. I forgot if this is pre-scramble or post-scramble. I think this might be pre. Oh wow! I can, and when I'm invincible, I can just like take out chunks of the stage too. Yeah, is that totally? Ah! The yoke's on you, friend. I hate you all. Has anyone played Tetris Effect? Alright.
Decide now.
Less synesthesia.
Yeah, I saw a thing. Digital Foundry did a whole thing about Tetris Effect and going over the history of Tetris and early Tetris games, and they said that it was their favorite Tetris ever. So
it's real good. I can't speak to whether you want to spend your money on it, but
no sign of it coming out on PC, no?
Nope.
it's published by Sony. Is there a co-published by Sony or something? But is it like, isn't it Fallout the MMO or whatever?
Yeah.
It's an MMO, not MMO.
Yeah, but I really like Fallout. No, I hate it. I know that's a big...
I was gonna say, I feel like I read that that's what this game is. Like, it's literally that. That's what you show up for?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know, that might be alright.
That's a.
Between that and Resident
Yeah.
Do what? Aftermath. Yeah, I haven't. I didn't hear when they.
I heard some of the VR experiences, like even though they're short, are pretty fun. Like the, right. But the what was it? The what was that game with Rami Malek and the dude from Agents of Shield and Until Dawn? There's like an Until Dawn VR experience that's supposed to be pretty good, even though it doesn't really have anything to do with Until Dawn. But yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a night. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We're playing some old SNK games. I would say that if you're into old arcade compilations like this and NES games, and they're adding a bunch of more games and all that stuff, like you should check out just the game. If you're a big fucking dork like me, then get the ridiculous, spring for the box.
Yep.
Yeah. I would say this game has a lot of run and gun shooters that I'm like a pretty big fan of, and the proper like arcade versions of Ikari Warriors 1, 2, and 3, are pretty good. AfroPow asked if I could make this game in English, so I switched the language. Yeah, you can switch the region with the X button on most of these games, but not all of them, which is cool. I was actually lamenting before I shut it down. I'm just gonna say, I was lamenting that I bought Night Slashers on the Switch this week as well, or last week, which is a horror themed beat 'em up, and it's the only game that I can think of in which you can DDT Frankenstein's monster that isn't like a wrestling game. So it gets points for that, but like, yeah, I think that the Johnny Turbo's arcade stuff is like some of the weaker archival stuff being put out there now. Like there's no option for the region, and there are differences from region to region in Night Slashers and in some of those other games they put out, and like the games always seem to have the default like MAME softening filter on them, and there's no way to turn, like even when you turn off the filters, there's still some low level softening filter on all their games, and it's just like compared to this and the Hamster stuff, and like Hamster put out Life Force / Salamander, and it's like all the different versions with all the different weird regional stuff, and there's like 4 different versions of that game, and they're all in the download when you get it. And like, it's weird that Johnny Turbo's arcade is just like, nope, here's the American ROM with a softening filter on it, and like very few options for display, and like, here you go, take it or leave it. That's just kind of disappointing. I feel like the game has changed. The bar has been raised. There's a new measuring stick for this kind of stuff, thanks to the efforts of Hamster and Digital Eclipse and all these people, and it sort of sucks that that Johnny Turbo and his arcade can't go the like slightly extra mile for stuff that is also super rare. Like I've only ever seen one Night Slashers cabinet, and it's at the Galloping Ghost in Chicago, and it's not a common game that's out there, and it had never been released on a console before last week, and to just feel like it's kind of like, we just slapped a ROM in our thing and pushed it out there. I don't know, just don't feel great about it. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next week, or maybe sooner, who knows.